Hello, and welcome to the Burning of the Midnight Amp, the show where we are dissecting music history, album by album, and song by song. And the album we are discussing is still David Bowie's Heathen album from 2002. And the track we have come to now is I've Been Waiting for You by Neil Young. It's a cover song. It's the sixth track on this album. A song originally from Neil Young's debut album as solo artist back in 1968. And we will start by having a listen to the song. Great song.
Oh, wonderful.
It is.
It was one of my immediate favorites on the album.
Oh, yeah. It was?
It was.
Did you know it from before?
No, I actually didn't. But I've heard the Pixies version, which obviously Bowie has heard as well, since he's leaning quite heavily on that. And the original is by Neil Young as well. But I have to say I prefer this. I do.
I mean, we discussed it earlier in some earlier episode. You're surprised that he would choose this one, and it is likely that that's the Pixie link, maybe, because it is a very random song to pick out of all Neil Young songs.
It is, yeah.
I mean, it is a great Neil Young song. It's probably my favorite, maybe, on the debut album.
Yeah. Most likely mine as well.
There are other great songs there too, but
but it's a bit unusual album for Neil Young. It was almost before he kind of found his true voice in a way. So it's more experimental than the album that came afterwards.
Yeah, it's a much more straight forward in a way, or rocking. The debut album is a little bit all over the place, going from soul, the old laughing woman with the choir, the female choirs, and
strange instrumentals, and
He's trying on different clothes and seeing what fits.
But we talked to Pixies being an inspiration, but Bowie has also said in interviews that he heard this album back when it came out, and he said, when I got that album in 1969, I was dazzled by the overall complexity of sound. It was so majestic, aloft, and lonely sounding at the same time, a real yearning, and I always wanted to do that song on stage or someplace.
Ever since 69.
So he has had it in his mind already since then, but maybe, and of course, it's not the first time Bowie played the song. He played it with Tin Machine. They didn't record it in the studio, but they played it on It's My Life tour in 91, 92. But then it was guitarist Reeves Gabrels who did the vocals. And you can actually hear this on the video VHS version of Tin Machine Live, Oh Vey Baby. And I assume that they did it because Pixies had then released their version of the song as a B-side to the single Veloria in 1990, so just a year or two before that.
But he did record songs at this time that had been on his mind for many years, like Try Some Buy Some on Reality. He also said he had listened to when it was originally released and always wanted to make his version of. And we'll soon get to the legendary Stardust Cowboy.
So it has a long history.
Long history, yeah. So, and of course, Bowie and Neil Young, we can discuss that at length as well.
I mean, he did have admiration for Neil Young and the type of the male rocker, Bruce Springsteen as well. I remember reading somewhere Bowie, his biggest wish or his regret was that he wasn't a sweaty rocker that stood on stage and sweat pouring everywhere.
Well, he's the actor, he's always playing a role, and Springsteen, wants to be perceived as being authentic, and as most male rock stars with a cowboy hat and blue jeans. But of course, both Neil Young and Bruce Springsteen are constructed as well.
Yeah, in a sense, but then again, they don't change around their personality as much as Bowie does.
No, so. if you look away from a bit eccentric face of Mr. Young in the early 80s, he was
all of the 80s,
trying on different suits again.
Actually, all of the 80s. That's true.
And making some amazing records, and some not so amazing, but still interesting. Yeah, well, Bowie wrote, I think it was Dead Man Walking on Earthling was written for Neil Young, or at least after seeing Neil Young, wasn't it?
Well, no,
something like that.
He had seen them. I think he played on this. What is this aid? This
a bridge school benefit, something.
School. Yeah, for that Neil Young arranged year by year, and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young played on the same concert that Bowie had been playing on, or at least he saw them on stage. And I remember him talking about them standing like in a circle, almost like in Native Americans ritual or something like that, and that made an impact on him. These old men, or at least relatively old, standing on the stage together and doing what they love. And that was his inspiration for Dead Man Walking. Apparently. Okay. So yeah.
Even though Neil Young was quite young at the time.
I mean, this is actually almost 30 years ago now. And they're still...
It's true.
Neil Young at least still going strong. So.
Well, he's probably listened to a lot of younger artists than Young on this track as well. This is to me, my ears at least, it's Bowie doing grunge, wrong decade. Put this in a Samuel Bayer video and turn back the clock to 94, 93. Put it on MTV. This could have been a hit.
Yeah.
Because it's a very... It sounds like those more older artists trying to be grungy at the time.
And he did include a grunge legend on the recording of the song.
Mm-hmm. Dave Grohl.
Dave Grohl. He plays the lead guitar on this the song and delivers the guitar solo, which I would say is in the spirit of Neil Young. Simple but effective. So Grohl's contribution was recorded separately, so they weren't in the studio together, and it's integrated into the final mix by Tony Visconti. He had earlier played with together with Foo Fighters on Bowie's 50th birthday bash in January 1997 in Madison Square Garden. I remember that particularly well because they had 3 drummers on stage at the same time. Foo Fighters drummers. I don't think that was Taylor at that time. I think it was the original Foo Fighters drummer. And you have David Grohl. And you had Zachary Alford, who was playing drums for Bowie. All bashing along to...
Hello, Space Boy.
Correct.
That's a brilliant clip.
I don't think they played more, did they?
No, can't remember.
I can't remember if there were more than that. At least that's the one that stuck in my mind since then.
But he had Frank Black turning up on that concert as well from the Pixies, doing Scary Monsters at least. Can't remember if he did any more. He was one of the guest stars.
And Black Francis, Bowie, and Grohl and Reeves Gabrels, they had collaborated another time as well. They all played on the song Jewel on
That's right.
Reeves Gabrels' second solo album, Ulysses. So, they played together a couple of times.
And of course, this is, when I said it's the grunge Bowie, it's because it has this dynamic of quiet, loud. When you got the verses with the bass just keeping tension.
Even though it was originally released 20 years before the term
course.
grunge was invented.
Of course, but I'm thinking about the first Garbage album that has the same dynamic, and this it sounds almost Butch Vig-ish, the production here.
I guess,
but also I said other older artists like Depeche Mode's grunge albums and Simple Minds grunge albums, and people jumping the wagon and taking the aesthetic, and this could have been Bowie taking the aesthetic in '94, but instead he went 9 Inch Nails, Brian Eno, left field jazzed with Outside, and of course missed the top 20, the top 100, but he made probably a better choice than to. Because if this was released in '93, we would have looked back and said that yes, this was very much of its time. And if you listen to Outside, it's not of its time at all. It's not of any time.
It's a good point.
Still, it doesn't feel outdated here, I would say.
No.
The song was released on single, actually, in October 2002, but only in Canada.
The birthplace of Neil Young.
Yeah.
Did it chart?
It did. It did actually quite well. It reached number 11 on the singles chart in Canada.
Right.
It had the album version of the song on the single and the Tony Visconti mix of Sunday and Shadow Man as well.
Yeah.
One of these old songs that originally was recorded for Toy.
The Siggy outtake.
It is, or has been mentioned that maybe it is the least essential of the 3 cover versions on the album.
I disagree.
I would also disagree.
Mm-hmm. Still, it was a recurring piece in Bowie's live performances during this period. It was played on both Heathen Tour in 2002 and on Reality Tour in 2003 and 2004, but only once in 2003. Totally, it was played 49 times. Interestingly enough, Tin Machine played it 28 times, which means that Bowie in total has played it 77 times live. And that is more than any other artist have ever played it. Neil Young and Crazy Horse has only played it 57 times, according to setlist.fm. I mean, that source could be wrong, of course, but if it is correct, then no one has played that song more than Bowie.
So the Pixies didn't put it on the road?
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Mm-hmm. Any final thoughts?
It was worth waiting for.
Very true. Even though it's a strange song to choose from Neil Young, it fits Bowie perfectly.
And the next track is also worth waiting for. That's going to be I Would Be Your Slave, which we're going to do in the next episode. Until then, thank you to everyone who was watching us. We also have a podcast where we are discussing the whole album from A to Z and all the songs on the album. And of course, other albums as well by other artists. And we have a Patreon channel where you can get early access to every song on this album and the full podcast as well. And by that, it's time to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
See you in a while.